Hello everyone, welcome to Alchemistry. Hope all of you are doing well. In my previous lectures, I have discussed about J.J. Thomson's atomic model, Rutherford's famous alpha particle scattering experiment, and Rutherford's atomic model as well. Those points were very important for class 11 students as well as for NEET and JEE aspirants. Here in this lecture, I am going to discuss about the limitations of Rutherford's atomic model. This is also a very important point for class 11 students. Many questions used to come from this point in their class exams and also in their board exams for class 11 students. So they should prepare this point very well. Anyway, let's begin. Rutherford in 1911 gave his famous atomic model, though it was a major breakthrough in understanding atomic structure, still it had several limitations. These limitations later led to the development of Bohr's atomic model. Among the various types of limitations, first point is Rutherford's atomic model could not explain the stability of the atom. Okay, Rutherford in his atomic model stated that an atom has two parts. One is the central nucleus and another is the electronic region. Electrons remain in the electronic region and they are revolving around the nucleus in any circular path. Right? In any circular path. So it was the statement of Rutherford's atomic model. The central part is known as nucleus and the region where electrons remain is called electronic region. So there was no specific circular orbit. Rutherford stated electrons can rotate around the nucleus in any circular path. There was no fixed circular path where electrons can remove. Rather, electrons can use any circular path to rotate around the nucleus. So this was the statement of Rutherford. In 1864, Maxwell, in his classical electromagnetic theory, stated that if any charged particle, suppose a negatively charged particle, is rotating in the field of a positive charged particle in a circular path or in any path, that charged particle, if gets accelerated, here you can see this negative charged particle is being rotated around this positive charged particle in a circular path. So during this rotation, the direction of this rotation is continuously changing. Right? As the direction of rotation is continuously changing, so the direction of the velocity is also changing. As velocity is a vector quantity, so with the change in direction, the velocity will also change and it will get accelerated. As the change is in positive direction, so it will get accelerated. So Maxwell said that whenever a charged particle is rotating around any charged particle, then that charged particle will be accelerated And if it is accelerated, then that charged particle which is rotating will release energy. It will release electromagnetic energy, right? So the released energy will be electromagnetic. If we apply this concept, the concept of classical, the concept of classical electromagnetic theory to Rutherford's atomic model, we can see that here in Rutherford's atomic model, Rutherford stated that the negatively charged particle is rotating around the nucleus in any circular path, right? The electron is negatively charged and it is rotating around the nucleus in any circular path. Nucleus is positively charged center and electron is negatively charged particle. So here electron being negatively charged particle as rotating around the nucleus which is positive charge, so electron will also be accelerated because it is rotating in a circular path. And during this rotation, the direction of rotation is being changed. So it will get accelerated, right? And due to this acceleration, as the electron is getting accelerated, so it will release electromagnetic energy. So the electron here will release electromagnetic energy, right? So applying the theory of Maxwell on Rutherford's atomic model, it could be explained as that electrons in Rutherford's atomic model are releasing energy continuously, as the electrons in Rutherford's atomic model can rotate around the nucleus in any circular path. There is no fixed circular path to rotate around the nucleus in Rutherford's atomic model. So the electrons are rotating around the nucleus in a continuous manner, and during this continuous rotation, the electrons are getting accelerated, and due to their acceleration, they are releasing electromagnetic energy continuously. So there is a continuous release of electromagnetic energy in Rutherford's atomic model. So whenever electrons are rotating around the nucleus and releasing energy continuously, that means it is losing energy. Electrons are losing energy, right? So during their rotation, they are losing energy. So when they are losing energy, the distance between electron and nucleus is continuously decreasing. So during the rotation of electron around the nucleus and due to the release of electromagnetic energy, electrons are losing energy and they are coming closer to the nucleus. And at a certain time, as the distance between nucleus and the electrons are becoming short, so at a particular time, electron will fall on the nucleus. So all the electrons within the atom will fall on the nucleus, following the spiral path. That means if all the electrons within the atom fall on the nucleus, there will be no electron left in the orbit to rotate around the nucleus. Right? So how an atom will be stable? if all the electrons within the atom fall on the nucleus, the atom will be collapsed. The atom will be unstable, right? So if this becomes true, that means if the electrons within the atom rotates around the nucleus in any circular path and they are releasing energy continuously, then the stability of atom would be collapsed. That means no atom in this universe would have not been stable if they followed Rutherford's atomic model. But this is not the case. Actually, atoms are stable. Electrons do not collapse into the nucleus. These are observed in experiment, right? Atoms are stable and electrons do not collapse into the nucleus. So Rutherford's model failed to explain atomic stability. Next point, Rutherford's model could not explain the arrangement of electrons around the nucleus. Okay. Rutherford in his atomic model states that an atom has two parts. One is nucleus, which contains all the protons or all the positive charge inside it. That's why it is positively charged center, and an electronic region where all the electrons stay and rotate around the nucleus in any circular path, right? He never mentioned any specification to the orbits or to the circular paths where electrons are staying and rotating around the nucleus. Rather, he just stated that electrons are rotating in any circular path. How the electrons are distributed among different circular paths, he have not explained that. Does the electron has any specific amount of energy when the electron is rotating, staying in a particular circular path or particular orbit? He has not explained that. Which orbit or which circular path can contain how many electrons? Rutherford's atomic model is totally silent about that. So Rutherford's atomic model cannot explain how many electrons exist in each orbit, how electrons are distributed, which orbit an electron occupies. That means it is totally silent about the specifications of the circular paths or about the energy of the electron. So Rutherford's atomic model only proposed that electrons move around the nucleus in any circular path, but it could not explain the arrangement of electrons around the nucleus. Rutherford's atomic model could not explain the line spectra of an atom. Okay. To understand this point, you have to first understand which is a spectrum. Now, before going to teach you what is a spectra, I would like to give some information about light. Light is of two types. One is monochromatic light. Another is polychromatic light. Monochromatic light means those light which has a specific wavelength. That means has only one type of wavelength, like red light, blue light, green light, right? Each light has a specific wavelength. But polychromatic light means the light which has different type of wavelength. That means the light which contains lights of different wavelength is called polychromatic light. Example of a polychromatic light is white light. When a white light is made to pass through a prism, it passed through the prism and gets separated into different type of light. If those lights are arranged to fall on a screen, different types of lights are observed, right? So here you can see different types of lights are observed on the screen. This is the screen, and here you can see different types of lights are observed. So this is a spectra. Okay. So this is how spectra is observed. When gaseous elements are kept within a place and it is heated. Suppose the gas is hydrogen gas and it is heated. And after heating, the gas gets excited. When the gas now comes to its ground state, it releases energy. If the released energy is made to fall on a prism, that energy gets separated into different type of light, like this, into different type of light, right? And then that light will fall on a screen or detector. So a spectra will appear here on the detector or on the screen, right? So this is how a spectra is observed. An element has two types of spectra. One is line spectra, another is continuous spectra. Now what is a line spectra? Line spectra means all the lines, here you can see all the lines are separated, right? All the lines are separated. Line spectra means the spectra where all the lines can be observed differently because they are separated. They are not overlapped like this. But continuous spectra means here all the lights will be collapsed like this. All the lights will be collapsed. You cannot separate lights from each other. So this is continuous spectrum and this is line spectrum. So line spectrum of atoms could not be explained by Rutherford's atomic model because Rutherford's atomic model is saying that electrons are rotating around the nucleus in any circular path, right? And during this rotation, during the rotation of the electron, as it is rotating around the nucleus in any circular path and applying the Maxwell theory, it is observed that the electrons, when rotating around the nucleus in any circular path, it is releasing energy, electromagnetic energy. And when electromagnetic energy is coming out from the electron continuously, the spectrum observed from the released amount of energy, which is continuously coming from the electron, will be a continuous spectra, not a line spectra, but a continuous spectra, right? That means the lines of the spectra will be collapsed with each other. We cannot separate the lines of the spectra. So this might be the case if the atoms would follow the Rutherford atomic model. The spectrum of the atoms would be continuous if they follow Rutherford's atomic model. But in reality, atoms are giving line spectra. How the line spectra is formed, I'm showing this with this drawing. You can see here there is a source of white light. When the white light is passing through hydrogen gas, and hydrogen gas is giving out electromagnetic energy, that electromagnetic energy is made to fall on a prism. So after prism, that white light is being deflected into different type of lights, and we are having this spectrum. On this spectrum, you can see these are some lines. So these are line spectra. So from Rutherford's atomic model, due to the release of continuous energy by the electrons, the spectrum should be continuous. But actually, hydrogen gives a line spectra, not a continuous spectra, right? You can see hydrogen gives a line spectra. Here the emission spectrum of hydrogen. Here you can see all the lines are shown. If it is absorption spectrum, there also you can see lines are shown. So hydrogen is giving line spectra. That means atoms are giving line spectra. If atoms obeyed Rutherford's atomic model, then this type of continuous spectrum would have been observed. But continuous spectrum is not observed, right? Only line spectrums are observed. So Rutherford's atomic model could not explain atomic spectra, which actually is line spectra. Rutherford's atomic model could not explain the quantized energy levels. Rutherford's atomic model stated that atom has two parts. One is the positively charged nucleus, and another is the electronic region where electrons stay and rotate around the nucleus in any circular path, right? I am saying the same things again and again. So electrons are rotating around the nucleus in any circular path. He has not specified any specification of the circular paths where the electrons stay and rotate around the nucleus. He has not mentioned any type of energy, any amount of energy to the electron when it is rotating around the nucleus in any circular path. He just stated electrons can rotate around the nucleus in any circular path no matter what the size and the energy of the orbit. His atomic model is totally silent about the energy of any circular orbit where electron can rotate around the nucleus or where electron can stay during their rotation around the nucleus. That means Rutherford's atomic model is totally silent about the quantization of the circular paths, right? That means it could not explain quantized energy levels. Rutherford's atomic model did not explain why electrons occupy only specific energy levels. The idea of quantized energy levels, as I have already explained, was introduced later by Bohr, right? So, Rutherford's atomic model fails to explain atomic size properly. Rutherford's atomic model only stated that electrons are rotating around the nucleus in any circular path, but it could not explain the exact dimensions of electron orbits. The reason for fixed atomic size. Every atom has some fixed size. Every orbit where the electrons are rotating has some fixed size. But Rutherford's atomic model could not explain that. Rutherford's atomic model just explained that most of the atom is empty space. So Rutherford's atomic model is totally silent or could not explain atomic size properly. Rutherford's atomic model could not explain chemical properties of elements. Now, what's the chemical property? Chemical property means the property of an element by which the element can take part in any chemical reaction. We know any element take part in a chemical reaction by sharing of the electron which is present in their valence shell or by giving out or taking any electron from its valence shell or to its valence shell. When any atom shares its electron from its valence shell, then covalent bond is formed or coordinate bond is formed. But when any atom give up its electron or take any electron from other atom, ionic bonding is formed, right? And we all know that the number of electrons that any element or atom used to take part in a chemical reaction is called valency. But Rutherford atomic model is only saying that electrons are rotating around the nucleus in any circular path. So his atomic model cannot give any explanation about the distribution of the electron around the nucleus. That means how the electrons are rotating around the nucleus, how many electrons are there in a particular circular orbit, is there any specific amount of energy of the electron when it is rotating around the nucleus. Rutherford's atomic model is totally silent about all these things. So As the Rutherford's atomic model could not give any explanation about the electronic distribution, so Rutherford's atomic model could not give any explanation about the electronic configuration of the atom. If we don't know the electronic configuration of the atom, we could not understand about the valency of the atom, and we could not understand how the chemical behavior of the particular element would be in a chemical reaction. So Rutherford's atomic model is totally silent about the chemical properties of the element. So far I have discussed all the limitations of Rutherford's atomic model. In conclusion, I can say that Rutherford's model successfully discovered the presence of a small, dense, positively charged nucleus inside the atom because his atomic model stated that an atom has two parts. One is the positively charged nucleus inside an atom. All the mass of the atom is dense or centered inside the atom, and it is very small in comparison to the size of the whole atom. And most of the atom is empty, right? But Rutherford's atomic model could not explain the stability of atom as I have explained earlier. It is totally silent about the electron arrangement inside the atom. Atomic spectra of an atom could not be explained by Rutherford's atomic model. Energy levels, that means where the electrons are rotating, around the nucleus, does that circular path have any specific amount of energy? That means, is the circular path where the electrons are rotating around the nucleus quantized? Rutherford's atomic model is totally silent about that. Rutherford's atomic model could not explain atomic size as well as the size of the circular paths where the electrons are staying and rotating around the nucleus. Rutherford's atomic model could not explain the chemical properties of elements. These limitations were later overcome by Bohr's atomic model in 1913. So far, I have discussed everything about the limitations of Rutherford's atomic model. Among the different type of limitations, the point where I have discussed the stability of atoms and the line spectrum of atom are very important. I hope this lecture have been very easy for all of you and you have understood properly. If you have any doubt, please mention that in my comment box. And if you want PDF note of my lectures, go to the description box. There is a link there. Click on them. It will direct you to my Google Drive. You can download all the notes of my lectures. So prepare well and do good results. Thank you so much for watching.